Welcome to another episode of Inspired Voices. I'm Oliver Riera, and this is Chris Wilson.
How's it going, man?
Thanks for joining me, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about what you do?
Okay, I own Mogul Clothing Company. We are a streetwear and lifestyle brand based in Central North Carolina and Winston-Salem. And for every purchase that's made, we donate to suicide prevention and mental health programs and just bettering the community.
That's very cool, man. That's a very good cause.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. Where are you from?
I was born in San Diego.
San Diego?
Yeah.
Nice.
And we moved to Winston-Salem when I was a little kid.
Okay, so it's like you don't really remember it kind of thing?
Yeah, I was like 3.
Yeah.
But I've been back there several times.
Have you?
Yeah.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, that's kind of like me. Like when I was born in Texas, but like 6 months after I was born, we moved to like Boston and then Miami,
okay.
and then settled here.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I never really
Moving all around.
Yeah, exactly. I never been back to Texas though. So
Really?
Yeah, I hear it's nice though. Like Dallas area, I hear it's
Yeah,
nice.
that's in Austin.
Yeah.
Although Austin's like kind of picking up with the tech boom and stuff.
Is it?
Yeah,
I didn't know.
Yeah,
that.
it's like the next Silicon Valley.
What?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool, man. So you pretty much grew up in North Carolina then,
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
What part of North Carolina?
Winston-Salem.
Winston.
Yep.
Okay, cool. How was it growing up there?
I mean, it's a great place to grow up.
Uh-huh.
It's very family oriented. There's not a whole lot of things you can get into.
Yeah.
It's very. I like to call it a city with a small town feel.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good way to
So
put it.
there's not a whole lot of degrees of separation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. What's the difference between like, because you've seen it pretty much all your life. Like, have you seen like big differences in Winston-Salem?
Yeah, I mean it's growing. It's definitely changing.
Mm-hmm.
Adding more schools. They're working on the highways all the time
Yeah.
and development. They recently added like Wake Forest Innovation Quarter. So there's like a lot of small businesses popping up and
Cool.
growth and stuff.
Awesome, man.
So I mean it's neat. Definitely. We had the GMAC building. GMAC Insurance,
Uh-huh.
and Don Flo actually took that over, and so he's like helping small businesses get offices in that huge building,
Nice.
and trying to develop some more retail space downtown, and a lot of positive things happening.
That's very cool, man. So tell me a little bit about your family. Like, how was it growing up with your family? Were they always like supportive of your decisions and all that stuff?
Very supportive. See, my immediate family is here in Winston.
Okay.
And I have family spread out all over the country.
Gotcha.
And so we moved to Winston because my dad got a job with U.S. Airways. They were stationed in Winston at the time. And so it was great because we were able to travel all over the country basically for free
Oh,
to
nice.
see all kinds of families.
Yeah,
So
that's
it
cool.
was very acclimated traveling when I was growing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Now you obviously own your clothing company. Were you always kind of like doing your own thing, or were you kind of like a 9-to-5 kind of guy before that?
I would always consider myself like a creative type person.
Okay.
But
Did you play any like instruments or something like that?
yeah, actually, I played piano since I was 7 years old.
Nice.
Yeah.
You still play?
Yeah,
What?
still play. Yep.
Nice, dude.
So that was my great grandfather bought me my first piano. I mean, I had keyboards before that, but I have this Wurlitzer piano in my parents' home, and I still play it.
That's cool, man.
So yeah, it's great.
I played piano too.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I stopped, but
But they say piano is the best instrument to learn any other instruments
Yeah,
through.
that's
You
true.
know, So
Yeah.
if you
learn
if
all
you
the
can pick it
notes.
back up, if you can keep going with it, then you can learn anything. But
Yeah.
keys are great.
Yeah, I think the thing with me is the reason I stopped is because I was with the piano teacher that I had. She was always teaching me classical music, and I got
learn
really good at it.
contemporary.
Yeah, I didn't think to ask or even bring it up or anything like that, so I just stopped.
I had my first piano teacher was actually my brother's music teacher at his middle school, and he didn't play music, but that's just where we knew her from.
Yeah.
And then after I took lessons from her for about 6 months, she moved away.
Yeah.
We found another teacher. I took lessons for her for a few years.
Right.
She moved away, and it took a little bit, like a year, and I found another teacher, and I stayed with her till I was like 18.
Interesting. So what about piano do you like?
I don't know. It's
Because you still play it today, right?
yeah, it's very relaxing.
Yeah.
And it teaches you, you have to learn a piece, you have a set goal, so it's something to work towards, and it's a good hobby to have, something to focus on.
You ever serenade women?
No, I do not. But that's a good idea, though. Yeah, I need to get like a keyboard, and take it on the road.
Yeah.
But no, that's what you asked me about my parents and pushing me and stuff. That's one thing they encouraged me to stick with was learning piano, and they always enjoyed that. And I did recitals and stuff like that. So I think that's one thing I'm grateful for is that they taught me to stick with something. You know?
I always like playing jazz. I mean, that is one of the genres that I liked playing on the piano.
Yeah.
Even though it was more classical music based. But with jazz was always like, because it's like, hey, it's groovy, it's got soul to it.
But I mean, you can make anything jazz.
Yeah, that's true. You can turn anything into jazz. Yeah.
Like I was watching the Cosby Show last night, actually, and it's the episode where Cliff is teaching Olivia about jazz, and she's singing "Pop Goes the Weasel," and she does this little number at the end, and he's like, "See right there, you're adding a little jazz into it."
Yeah.
So I mean, anything could be, jazz.
Yeah, just bringing some soul into it.
That's piano. You can do any type of music you want with it. You can add keys into anything or take something. And one thing I've been into recently is this YouTube channel, and he takes popular top 40 songs and turns them into piano covers.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah, it's really high quality.
It's got like music, like high quality music videos and stuff like that.
And not only that, he releases like the sheet music, and
really?
He has a tutorial video on top of that. So it's like a full blown thing. Like it's really cool.
That's really cool.
I've actually downloaded some and just like
kind of played it out.
To it. Yeah, just listen to it though. Like it's good.
So does that mean like you've been in bands and stuff like that, or is it kind of a solo thing?
I tried to start some bands when I was younger, but it's like I said, it's a small town, varying interests and stuff. And it was very personal to me. It's just like my thing to sit down and relax with and do and learn. I mean, I did do recitals, obviously, but, it was very personal. It was almost like therapy, I guess, as I grew older.
Yeah. Oh, how come it didn't work out with like starting a band and stuff like that? Well, the people weren't just like into it?
Yeah,
or
just not into it. Yeah. And then there's like, I got older into the ages of, we could start a band and like take it on the road and more of an adult with it. It was just like, that's not really something I want to do. I'd just rather focus on other creative passions and keep that one thing, to myself.
Yeah. So. All right, cool. Awesome, man. So I know like you started your company because of your brother and stuff like that.
Yep.
How was it growing up with your brother as like kids and stuff like that?
Oh, my brother was the greatest, man. CJ was actually 7 years older than me. And, so it's very much not just an older brother, but, my dad is, in my life, my dad is great. But he was also a father figure to me too. My dad was always working when we were younger. And especially when he worked for the airlines, a lot of times it was third shift or 50, 60-hour weeks. So a lot of times, he was just working. And my older brother was always there, take care of me, do anything, hang out with me, play video games, whatever.
Wow.
He was just teaching me, and my brother was also very fashionable.
Yeah.
So like, so that's one thing like I looked up to him was to, how to dress or, learn things about fashion and stuff like that.
So you grew up with that and.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome.
I wouldn't say I started it because of him, my business, but definitely I want to channel something into creating change, bringing awareness, and helping others, and about inclusivity, not exclusivity. And if there's one thing that feels exclusive, especially in a niche like streetwear, is that not everybody can afford a $500 t-shirt or a $300 hoodie or sweatpants or something like that. Very much like Off-White or Supreme or something. Those brands are great, but not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
And so it very much feels exclusive. So I want to give off the vibe and make it inclusive, and everybody can participate. Everybody feels like they belong, and it's not
okay.
But also while looking great.
Yeah, of course, that's the number one priority right there.
Yeah, exactly.
So Mogul clothing company right there.
Yep.
What's up with the name? How did you pick that?
It's just an idea that I had. Originally, me and my best friend Ben were going to start this company together. He had some other commitments, and so I decided to take it, myself still. But he really liked the idea, and he really pushed that, that was a great name. And it's, mogul is used, here or there, but it's kind of like a stranger word in that like some people don't know how to spell it, or like when you say it, depending on your accent, you don't know, what
Yeah.
word it is and stuff. So it's kind of like just a cool word, and it gets the message across. And I found this font, for my logo, and that I keep using. I really like it. Got great feedback
You
on
did
that.
design it yourself?
Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah. I do like everything.
Oh, yeah?
It's all hands on, all me, all the time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have any like background or of like graphic design or something like that, or?
I've always been like creative and into
Yeah.
arts and stuff like that.
Okay.
Like obviously with pianos
Yeah,
and
piano,
stuff like
right,
that. And I've played around with graphic design, web design. I took some web design classes in high school and stuck with it. And
Same here.
so it's always been like something I'm interested in.
Yeah.
And I never really wanted to pursue it. It's hard to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Be the face of something, or do something on your own, or be a freelancer or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
So I
It's a
really
big
didn't.
jump.
Yeah, I really didn't do much with it. But in those times when I wasn't doing anything with it, I'm grateful for those times, because I've learned so much in like retail experiences and settings on learning customer service. And you have to have a foundation before you build
Yeah.
anything else.
Exactly.
So, yeah, like I said, it's all me. I design, and I do have some like collaborations. I have inspiration all the time. I've used some free vector images on the internet, and I've played around with those and changed them. So while it might be a free image on some things I've had, or some designs I haven't put out yet,
Yeah.
I very much make it my own too.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay. So you said you learned, like, you had a good foundation. So you worked in retail,
Yeah, I worked.
and like when you worked in retail, did you keep that in mind that you were gonna have your own clothing company or something of your own?
Well, like I said, fashion has always been something I'm interested in, and I always want to. I'm always, even if I'm just like rolling out of bed, going to do errands, not showering or anything, I always like am paying attention to what I'm wearing.
Yeah.
And I worked at Old Navy. I worked at like some boutiques and stuff like that, shoe stores, and you learn a lot in those experiences, especially at a high volume retailer like Old Navy. And you learn about you learn from everything. That's one thing that they do really well, is that they train you on like cross training. So your logistics, register, fitting room, floor, all of that. And so you learn so much in such a short time.
Yeah. Especially as a
And,
manager too. Like, were you ever a manager there?
No, but I just learned like all the facets of everything. I was manager at other places.
Gotcha.
Due to working at Old Navy for so long. So back to your original question, I never thought I would be a business owner or a fashion designer or graphic designer or any of these multiple hats that I have to wear. But it definitely taught me a lot working in retail experiences about what to do and what not to do.
It almost seems like with me, it's like you have to go through those things of like, you're working in retail and all that stuff, even though you don't know at all what's going to come out of it, like owning your own clothing company and all that stuff. But you have to go through it in order for you to, it's like, almost like you're testing things out. And so
Yeah.
like you're testing things here,
right.
doing things here. And then once you get to a certain point where you love what you're doing or you want to start your own thing, you could start layering the experiences and the skills and the talents that you have together.
Yeah, you see their processes and how they not only handle clothes or customers, but how they handle the business side of it and treat their employees, or handle inventory, and just all these things that you learn that you don't even think about when you're starting your own business or a clothing business that they do. And those things come into play, or you're like, hey, I remember doing that, or hey, they did that great. Let's try to implement that,
Yeah.
And I feel like, at least me as a person, I feel I learned so much more from real world experiences or things that I see or teaching myself than I would in a classroom setting.
Absolutely. I mean, school can't teach you that.
No, not real life experiences. No.
No, not at all. I wish they would, but there's not really a way to do that unless the school is in the company or something like that.
Yeah, or they have
You know
like
what I mean? Like a
work
internship
for internship. Yeah,
or
there you
something
go.
like
That's
that,
what I
yeah.
was looking for.
But that's cool, man. So tell me a little bit about your brother and why this whole mogul thing kind of sparked an interest.
Yeah. Well, like I said, he was a very fashionable person. My brother was a very caring person. My brother was the type of person that if you needed something, he cared about you, or even a stranger, he would give his shirt off of his back,
Oh, that's
just
cool.
just to help that person.
Yeah.
And my brother always said, everybody has a story, so don't be quick to judge them. My brother was very like accepting of everybody,
Wow.
accepting of like people with hardships or whatever, and he would do whatever he could to help those people. My brother had suffered from mental illnesses, depression, schizophrenia, and I watched him suffer for like many years.
Wow.
And eventually, he died by suicide, and due to all the mental illnesses that he had. And it was very sad to see him, struggle and stuff like that. But it only furthers my mission and what I'm doing to help other people, in those similar situations, even if they're not dealing with the same things he did or I do. I want to build positivity in everybody and make everybody feel like they belong, whether you're being bullied or you have anxiety or whatever it is, don't feel like you don't belong because you do, and just be yourself,
Yeah.
because the world will adjust,
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly. The world adjusts to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So just, it's very hard to, like I said before, to be yourself, to put yourself out there. But as long as you control what you can to the best of your abilities, then I feel like, you're going to do great.
Yeah. Absolutely. Seems like a great guy.
My brother was really great. Yeah, I
It's
miss him a
almost
lot.
like it's almost like he wasn't happy with. Well, he had mental illnesses, right? So,
Yeah, he did.
But he was always so positive and all this stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
So, in that case, were you surprised?
I wouldn't say surprised. Well, I mean, it is shocking.
Yeah, of course.
And like I said, he did suffer for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has bad days, and everybody is can be negative and stuff. But he always tried to be positive, and that's one thing. Again, teaching me, just try to be positive even in your darkest of times.
Yeah, that's cool.
And like I said, he was a very fashionable person and a very caring person. So
Yeah,
it's one things I carry. That's all what I carry with me is, going through the stages of grief. And suicide is unlike any other death. It's not something you can see coming easily, especially. And there's been so many advances in like mental health and suicide research, and even in the past 5-10 years. And the warning signs, have come out. But back then, even in like 2003, the internet and medical information wasn't as readily available as it is today. I mean, that's like before smartphones and all that.
Yeah,
I mean, still even to this day, there's not internet in everybody's home all around the world, or not everybody still has a smartphone to this day. As crazy as that is to
Right.
believe, but back to my original point is that the warning signs aren't as readily available as they are today. And my brother was also the type of person that he didn't want anybody to help him. He just wanted to help other people.
Yeah.
So if things were going wrong, he didn't want to like take any medicine or like anything like that to help himself. As hard as it was, he just wanted to be himself and not, go through the changes that medicine can do.
Yeah.
And as I was saying, even now, like I said, in the past 5-10 years, there's been so many medical advancements in like medicines and research, and there's always something new every day.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But like I said, it was shocking. He had his struggles definitely, but and I was saying, going through the stages of grief, you get angry, and there's times when you can only think of like the negative memories or all of that. But as I've gotten older and lived with it, I wouldn't say it's gotten easier. It's just gotten easier to live with.
Yeah.
And
It kind of never really goes away, right?
It never goes away. But now I'm able to accept what happened and, help other people through what I'm doing and learn from what happened, and just be positive, and think of the positive memories that I had with my brother and build upon those within my own business and helping other people.
Right. Is that something that you try and push, is letting people know about the clues of like the things you could kind of like point out?
I mean, I'm not a medical
as
professional.
far as
Like,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, of course.
but that's why it's so important to carry on my mission and donate to mental health, research and programs. And it's what I want to say is that if you need help, like, it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help at all. It's a sign of strength to show, hey, I can't do it all on my own, and nobody can.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to ask for help is a sign of strength.
That's true. And I remember that reminds me of my dad always saying, "Don't ask anyone for help. Don't ask anyone for help." He has that the immigrant mentality of
Yeah.
like you have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And so I never asked for help. And every time that I felt depressed or anything like that, because I had depression when I was little, never felt like I could go to anyone. But I was always the person that would always help everyone.
Yeah.
Instead of myself.
Yeah. See?
And then it took a toll, went through homelessness, and then I just hit rock bottom pretty much.
Really?
And then I decided, I just got fed up and pissed off at myself and decided that I needed to change.
Yeah, you have to change. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not asking for help, that does work for some people. Everybody's different, but more often than not, you do need help. And it's not a sign of weakness to ask for it.
No,
it's a sign of strength.
Mm-hmm.
And more often than not, people are willing to help you.
Yeah.
And
if they're, correct me if I'm wrong, but if your friends think it's like that you're weak because of that, then obviously you need to change your friends.
Yeah, those aren't your friends.
Those aren't your friends at all, no matter how close they are.
Exactly.
So going back to Mogul Clothing a little bit.
Yeah.
Because when was like the moment you had when you were like, you know what, I'm going to do this?
Well, that's a great question. Me and my best friend talked about it for a long time. And, I've known Ben for like close to 15 years. So Ben is like very much a brother to me now. Mm-hmm. And we've always been interested in fashion. We always, wanted to do something in fashion, or, we always looking for the trends or trend setting or, stuff like that. And it was about a year ago in the summertime, 2016, that we really talked about, let's just do it, And as things progressed and everything, and he couldn't participate, it was about in the wintertime of last year that I was just like, you know what? I just needed to do something, and I was...
Did you feel stuck?
Yeah, I was unemployed at the time, and I was stuck, and I had gotten out of a bad job that I worked. I worked at an answering service, which is like very difficult. And I was just like, you know what? Let's just go for it. You got to try something. Mm-hmm. And I've always pushed down like my creativity as far as like graphic design or web design or stuff like that.
Why is that?
It was just not something I was interested in as far as like doing it as a job.
Gotcha.
Because I feel like sometimes when people confuse a hobby or something they're interested in with a business or trying to do a job, then that's when things can go wrong. And, whether it's, you didn't execute properly or things didn't work out for whatever reason, or if you just hated it after, it was something fun and then you turned it into a business and you're like, I'm doing this all the time and I hate it. But I was just like, you know what, let's just try it. Let's just go for it and see. And, I come up with some solid designs and I just went for it and I opened in March of this year.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Did you take one step at a time? Is that kind of like what you have to, right?
Yeah.
It's like, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. You have to be aware of the steps that you need to take. Mm-hmm. But if you focus on anything other than your current step, then it's just going to collapse.
Right.
Like we talked about, you have to have a solid foundation to build from and just go from there. Mm-hmm. So it's figuring out like who's going to host your website, how are you going to sell online, or are you going to try to make a retail push, or both? And then, getting your designs together. And if you have an idea as an entrepreneur, it's the right thing to do if it's your only consuming thought is like, I just have to do this.
Yeah.
And you just have to go with your gut and go for it. Mm-hmm. And if you believe in it, not only if you have a good product, but if you are a person and have a great message, then people are going to believe in that and people are going to support you. I believe in that people buy from people.
Yeah,
And
they
you
do.
know, that's you know.
Especially if their intent is pure.
So what I've learned is don't run from your message. Don't run from who you are. Own it and be confident about it and put yourself out there and do it. And people are going to believe in you. Not only if you have a good product, but if you're a great person and a great message, it's going to work.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it might take a long time. It might, you know, be hard as hell, but you're gonna suffer some setbacks. You're gonna go through great successes though if you just stay persistent.
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised when I started this.
Yeah.
But I was surprised about people actually wanted to come and like do this with me.
Yeah.
Because I just okay. I just
Yeah, let's
I never
do it
really
then.
thought that like I had that kind of support. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with the message that it has, of course, why not?
Exactly.
Because it's all about positivity,
Yeah,
and you want to
right.
go ahead and just spread it.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I try to do, and that's why I like what you're doing, because you had some great people on here and great stories and messages and
Yeah.
great content.
Yeah,
Happy
it's
to
all
be
on
part
them,
of
not
it.
me.
Yeah, well, yeah. But you know, you're able to bring that out, and you're able to be who you are and help people be themselves and be comfortable
Yeah.
and vulnerable in a setting.
Yeah.
You know, and
I think the
so-
reason why is because I have empathy for people.
Yeah.
I have a lot of empathy, and the reason why is because I grew up so shy, so depressed, so negative. I've been on the other side
Yeah.
of that negative part so much for the most of my life that when I turned it around, it was a complete 180 from the first thing that I did,
Yeah.
the first positive thought I had, and so having that empathy for people, I understand because I've been through it. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the reason why that happened. But also, people think about, we were talking about steps on building
Yep.
a business and stuff like that, and sometimes they get overwhelmed when they look at the whole picture, all
Yeah.
of what they have to do,
Yep. Definitely.
and you got to take it step by step.
Exactly.
Instead of looking at the whole picture, it's just gonna overwhelm you. You're gonna it's lack of patience when they look at the whole picture.
Yeah.
Because they look
That's a
at it and
great-
like, oh,
great way to put it.
yeah,
But like I said, you have to be aware of what your ultimate goal is, and you have to never forget why you started what you were doing. And like I said, you have to be aware of the steps 2, 3, and 4, but you can't forget what you're doing on step 1. You know, and that applies to not just starting a business, but your current projects in what you're doing.
yeah,
Too.
That's very true.
And it helps me. I see this on Shark Tank all the time. It's something that I do. Is just write it down. In a digital age,
You mean write the steps down?
Yeah, in
Okay.
a digital age, it's so easy to type something in. But for me, when I put pen to paper, that's when I am most creative. Or you see it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have that piece of paper right there in front of you, whether it's a sticky note on your monitor or your journal or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Just
That's
write
very
it down
true. Yeah.
and have it in front of you. Have a physical thing that you're committing to, and
There's definitely a difference between typing and writing.
definitely,
And even though typing is faster,
yeah,
writing is just something about it that just it's more ingrained.
yeah. Well, I don't use my notes on my phone a lot. Typing it in. If I need to do that, it's because I don't. It's like out of necessity. I don't have something to write on right then.
Yeah.
But if I do use my phone, it's more often than not like voice memos and stuff like that. That I can hear myself, hear what I was talking about or what my idea was right in the moment.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, and that you could express it the way you want.
Yeah, and
so.
I can write it down later. And my hand doesn't move as fast as my brain sometimes.
Same
I'm trying to, get out
It
something.
gets sloppy and then I mess up.
Yeah, but it's right there, and you have it, and it's,
Yeah.
you can see it.
Right, of course. Cool, man. So, what was the riskiest part in starting this whole thing?
I think fashion is, there's so many options.
Yeah,
And
that's a very hard industry to break into. Too.
yeah, and you have to have like I said, a goal, and you have to know what you want to do, know the message, know your niche, and stay in your lane basically.
Yeah,
And like I said, fashion is one of the hardest industries or businesses to break into and have a sustainable business. It's right up there with restaurants 1 and 2 because there's so many options for places to eat. There's so many places to shop, and
Yeah.
what to wear, and then you have secondhand stores on top of that, and thrift stores.
Right.
So, it's like I said, you have to put yourself out there, and you have to tell your message and make people believe, in what you're doing, and, show, have to showcase your product, obviously.
Yeah.
And, it's very hard when it comes to fashion. Sales is the hardest part, is what I've been told, what I've read, and what I've learned. And, it's picking up. It's only growing.
So was that the hardest part?
Yeah.
The sales?
Yeah. I would say sales is definitely the hardest part.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not like a true bred like salesperson.
No,
really-
I've worked a lot of sales jobs, including like Old Navy, like I said.
Yeah.
That's not my strong suit, but I've learned this through other entrepreneurs and reading and watching shows like Shark Tank, The Profit, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Is that just be yourself. And like I talked about before, people buy from people. So if you just tell your story, be who you are, then that's a sales pitch all in itself.
That's right. You got to express the passion that you have for it.
Exactly. Yeah. You have to make people believe it. And the way to do that is just be honest in yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, like, don't try to sell someone that's not really sellable is also key, because you're wasting your time with them and all that stuff.
Yeah. Know your market.
Yeah, know
Definitely.
your market.
Definitely.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And listen to what the market tells you too.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't do that.
I started out wanting to do like not only streetwear, but also like graphic design or custom orders and stuff like that. And it's just difficult, to do one-off orders, and it takes a lot of time to get things just the way somebody wants it. So I've kind of like stopped doing that as much and just focused on my own clothing line.
Okay. So you started with both then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was a way to make money and way to grow and
Yeah.
learn and get ideas from other people and learn things about myself or about processes or different design programs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I did a short run of tour posters for my friend Kelsey Kopecki, and she toured in Europe earlier this year, and she had, I believe, 7 or 8 shows, and I designed a poster for each show.
Nice.
So that was kind of cool, and it was a learning experience.
Yeah.
And they turned out really well. So
That's very cool. That's something that I sort of did the same thing with this. So I started off with Inspired Goods.
yeah, I saw that. Yep.
Yeah. And then, doing short films, but it wasn't really consistent. And then the Inspired Voices started like picking up
Yeah.
as being
And
more
that's-
consistent.
You're doing great.
And then so I just decided to go all in on that.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing with
Yeah,
you
that's
and
what
your
you have to do.
graphic
You have to
design.
commit.
Yeah. But testing those things at first is
Exactly.
always a good note
Exactly.
to have. Was there anything else that you tested besides like graphics and your own clothing company?
Well, I have some stuff on my shop right now, and it started out only online. I didn't have any physical inventory whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I've worked with a company it's called Direct to Garment, and basically it's basically feeding a printed good through an inkjet printer, although it's higher quality, massive scale,
Yeah.
and so on. And that was a really good way to basically just you upload your design, they put it on there. When somebody buys it, prints, it ships.
Oh, cool.
And it's a good way to put designs out there, mock it up, show people, see what people are buying.
Yeah.
And I still use that tool just on a lower scale now. I have a lot more physical inventory and stuff now. But it was a way to learn, build, grow, and go from there.
Cool. Was patience always a big thing for you? Or did you have to learn that when you started Mogul Clothing?
I've never been a patient person.
Okay.
So a little kid, but it's definitely a learned skill for me.
Yeah.
Is patience, and it teaches you when you take something from start to finish, and you learn patience along the way. But it's such a great payoff to when you can feel something in your hand, physical.
Yeah.
And not only that, when you sell it and somebody tells you, wow, this is great, or sends you pictures, or, connects with the message or whatever it may be,
Yeah.
it reaffirms not only your designs, your message, but also the skills you learned along the way, such as patience and stuff. You saw that jacket I was wearing. That took me like 3 or 4 months to design, and they were handmade in China.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's not like a sweatshop, nothing like
Right,
that.
right.
I definitely made sure of
It's
that.
not made by kids.
Yeah, definitely not. But I made sure of that. I didn't want any like slave wages, anything like that.
Yeah.
And it took me like 3 or 4 months to go from start to finish. It's not like a shirt you buy from a place and go get it screen printed or anything like that.
Right.
It's designed from the ground up, like sizes, cuts, colors, materials, everything. And 3 to 4 months, that's a long time.
That is a long time.
And you go through ordering samples and samples of materials and stuff like that. So that was a very patient process right there.
Yeah.
I learned patience through that too.
Did you ever get like frustrated, like during
With
this
that project?
Oh, no, not just that project, but like in general about mogul clothing, like the process of building that.
Yeah. There was a time when after I started my business, I wasn't seeing as many sales as I thought I should. Everybody goes into it with a positive mindset. They think they're going to blow up right away. And that's something that, talking about patience again, you have to learn and take the baby steps and build your foundation before you can blow up. If I was to blow up right away, right when I started my business, and I got like 2, 3, 4, 5,000 orders overnight, there's no way to fill that all on my own.
Yeah.
And that can crumble a business as much as it can help a business down the road.
That's true.
So, you have to be thankful for those times. But getting back to my story, what you asked me, I started not to believe in it anymore after I started my business a couple months after. And I was just like, you know what, this is a fun idea. It's just a hobby. And, I should just count it as such and not continue. But, I really searched in myself and through learning and taking those baby steps that, you learn while things might be bad at a certain time, it's not a bad day. It's not a bad life or a bad business. It's just a bad day.
Right.
And you just have to learn from those things and just apply them and keep persisting.
Yeah. I've said that a couple times myself, like, because the first 9 months of starting this whole thing was just me testing different things, seeing what works, what doesn't work, trying different segments and all that stuff. And a couple of times I've been like, maybe I should just give up on this.
Yeah, you can also use these mics for like the ASMR, like eating. Do you know what that is?
Yeah. No, I don't.
It's like when people have like a mic and they like get close to the mic and eat foods. And they don't talk, they don't say anything.
Yeah.
They just eat the food slowly. Yeah. And
It sounds like a fetish.
well, it does. But I learned that like a certain amount of people get a tingly feeling in their brain from listening to like those soft sounds or like people whispering or stuff like that.
Yeah.
ASMR stands for like auditory sound something.
Yeah. Interesting.
I'm not into it, but it's just like, But if this doesn't work out,
I
you
could
have the
always do
mics.
that.
Yeah, you have the camera crew.
Just give me some
everything.
soup.
Yeah, you got to get something crunchy like some potato chips in there. Grilled cheese.
Yeah, some moans.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. Exactly.
Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, persistence.
Yes.
That's something that I've always been is persistent, and it's you have to remind yourself of that. Be who you are.
Yeah.
And just persist.
Because that's all you can control.
Yeah, exactly.
yourself.
Exactly.
I know you donate to the mental illness organizations. Is that
Yep,
correct?
yep.
What kind of organizations do you?
I've donated to Triad Mental Health, which is in the Winston-Salem area, and American Foundation for Suicide Prevention is a big one. We learned about them 2-3 years after my brother passed away, and they do like community walks, they do overnight walks, and they're a national organization.
Cool.
And
Are you part of those walks as well?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
We me and my mom and my dad and my brother. I have 2 brothers, and we all participated in the first walk ever in Winston-Salem in 2006. And there was like 50 people, maybe not even that many.
Right.
So it wasn't like a huge event. And this one that just passed, it was in October at Triad Park in Kernersville. There was 700 or more.
Oh, wow.
There. So it's like really
big
grown
difference. Yeah.
from, and getting the message out slowly and
That's cool.
bringing awareness. So those are 2 organizations I've worked with closely. But
Do you work with them like as far as your company as well? Like partnering up or anything like that?
No, my mom volunteers. My mom and dad volunteer every year to work with them. I've walked and, raised money and stuff.
Yeah.
And so have they. This year I had a friend of mine do a walk in Charlotte, and I designed like her whole team's shirts and just
cool.
like, donated that to them at cost. So like no design fee, like anything, just you guys
Yeah.
pay for the shirts. And it
Nice.
was a really cool experience. Yeah. With her and also Crisis Text Line. So she's a counselor for them.
Very nice, man.
Yeah.
That's a really good cause.
Yeah.
I think it's like something that people don't really talk about.
Yeah,
much.
exactly. That's why it's so important to get the word out. And it affects so many more people than you would ever think. By just spreading their message, people are wanting to tell you their story. And you learn and meet people along the way, and learn things about people that you didn't even know.
Yeah.
You've known them your whole life.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah, that's true. What kind of things are you doing now to grow your business?
I've been working on some collaborations with artists,
cool.
national and local.
Like music artist or
Actually, like my friend Robert Boyer, he is a great painter. And so we've taken one of his current paintings and I've converted that to digital art. So that's one of the collaborations that we'll be doing is he painted one already, and then he's creating something specifically just for our shirts or hoodies. We haven't exactly figured out what we're going to print on yet.
Yeah.
And then he's going to do a third painting. And so we'll have like a collection of 3 items. And I have some other collaborations in the works with other artists and working on other partnerships like brand ambassadors and social media influencers.
cool. Yeah, I was gonna
So-
say like social media influencers
Yeah.
is kind of like the key thing you kind of want to do, right?
Exactly.
What kind of things are you doing with the influencers?
Usually,
Because like my idea when you said that, I was like, oh, well, he should contact the influencer, give him a free shirt, and then they could post it. And get more.
exactly. Former NFL player Monte Ball has worn some of my shirts. You can see that on Instagram,
Nice.
and that's somebody that we've connected with. I have some others in the works. Can't say too much about it yet, but there's
Yeah.
also like sites that you can go on and type in, what your company is or what your genre you're looking for and
Yeah.
stuff, and people basically put themselves on there to show, hey, this is how many followers I have, this is my post engagement, this is what I'll charge, and you can do that. So that's something I've looked into. But if you try to make something go viral, it's never going to go viral.
Oh, of course.
It has to be organic.
Yeah.
So contacting people that or having people contact you, is always the best way to go. Just grow it
Yeah.
organically.
Yeah.
I did
It's just
have
trying to get more business.
yeah, exactly. And I did have a local music artist, speaking of that, contact me in Winston that wanted to do some shirts and like some cross promotion too. So always working on stuff all the time.
Little different things here and there.
Yeah,
That's
and,
cool.
and like you said, definitely testing things out, trying things, see what works, see what doesn't.
Yeah. Okay, so when you test things out like that, have you found that a lot of it are fails? Do you get more fails than what works?
I would say nothing is a failure because you learn what
Yeah.
works through that.
There it is.
It's all positive
Yeah.
because hey, that didn't work, or hey, that worked, but we need to tweak it and do it this way.
Yeah.
It's like I said, everything's a challenge with sales.
Mm-hmm.
And so that you're always playing the sales game. You can put out your message any way you want, spend money on advertising, whether that's Facebook ads or, what other social media ads, or if it's the cost of goods, sending it to an influencer.
Right.
It's all about, sales.
Yeah. And sales, and it's just taking those risks, man.
Yeah, and you have to. You have
yeah.
to. You never know something unless you ask. So
Yeah.
if you know somebody that has a lot of followers or is a big name or something like that, you have to just ask.
Just ask, yeah.
Yeah. Or don't feel free to put the word out on your social media, like, hey, does anybody know anybody, that want to promote?
You could always provide value too. Just
Yeah,
provide value for
exactly.
that person and give.
Yeah, somebody come at me with an idea the other day, and they said, "Hey, you should." He's like, it might sound crazy, but you should like take a box of shirts and drop it off at like Goodwill, and that way people could just like, buy it at Goodwill. And I was like, well, it might sit on the rack forever. Who
Right.
knows what they're gonna do with it?
Yeah.
So I was like, if you're gonna do something like that, you need to go stand on like a street corner and just hand out your shirts.
Yeah.
That'd be better because then you're making
Or you
that
could give them
connection.
to the homeless or something like that.
Yeah. Again, it leads back to what's your market.
Yeah.
you
Yeah, that's
know?
true.
So,
You know the market more than I do. That's for sure.
Well, I'm learning. But that, that's one thing I am doing for the holidays is I won a competition that I was awarded 36 free screen printed tees with my design. I put like a radically different design than I've had on anything else I've ever done. And so like I'm going to be doing like buy something, give away a shirt, with every purchase or something like that.
Yeah.
Those. So it'll be like a really cool experiment to see, if that helps with sales or what people think of those designs.
Right.
Because, I'm just so totally different than anything I've done.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what can you tell someone that is going through depression and suicidal thoughts? Because I know you said a couple things already.
Yeah.
But what would you say to someone that's going through that specifically?
Well, just it's very important to stay. Nothing's going to get better. One thing that AFSP or any suicide survivors or anything, they're always told that. I lost my train of thought there.
You're good.
That
So
suicide is a permanent answer to a temporary problem. And
That's good.
while
Yeah.
your mental health might not be a temporary problem, there are steps you can take to improve that mental health. And that's what you need to do. Like we talked about, don't be afraid to ask for help.
yeah.
But the most important thing is that somebody's here. You can use crisis text line at any time. You can text out when you're in a crisis and need to talk to somebody. And that's a great service they provide because a lot of times people don't want to call on the phone to a suicide hotline. And they might be, crying or upset or can't get their message out or have anxiety where they can't talk on the phone or can't physically speak. Or there's also deaf people. And crisis text line is great for that. That if you're in a crisis, you text them and they'll text you right back and get you help that you need to get you through, whatever you're going through in a dark moment. And help is out there, and I'm sure you have people in your life that care about you and that would not want to see you go.
Yeah. You just have to kind of open your eyes.
Yeah, exactly. But I know it's definitely hard to do that in the darkest of times. I suffer from my own depression, my own anxiety, and it's hard for me sometimes to see the forest for the trees, as they say. And but
Even though I know it's there,
even though you know it's there,
It's
just
still
like
hard.
you can't. One of my counselors explained it to me one time. Is that sometimes I see a big boulder in front of my face, and I can't think of any way other than trying to get through it. But it's an immovable boulder. You can't move it.
Yeah.
You can't. But you have to see that you can go around it or over it.
Yeah.
And you just have to keep persisting and.
Yeah, that's kind of what like when I'm an acting teacher. So with my students, I'm not just invested with their acting. I'm invested with their life. I want to help them become a better person. And so I always tell my students every semester, like, hey, I'm here if you guys want to talk. I don't care if it's about acting. It could be outside of life. I had students come up to me, talk about like suicide, talk about hurting themselves, talk about things that went on in school that are inappropriate.
Yeah.
So they trust me with this information, and I'm just so glad that I could just be there for them because I've been through a lot in life, and I just having that empathy, I can make them gain perspective instead of looking just at one thing like they are.
Yeah.
So gaining perspective is something that I really engage with my students. And I think that's something that's important.
Yeah, definitely. And, at least you're there for them, and you a shoulder to cry on, as they say, you know. So even if they're not listening to your message, at least, they're there.
Yeah.
And you're there for them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All the time, every day, all day.
Yeah. And just never be afraid to reach out to somebody, just text somebody and be like, hey,
Yeah. And I tell them, even I don't care if it's 3:00 in the morning,
Exactly.
just contact me. It's all good. Just showing the love.
Yeah. That's what it's about. Love and positivity, man.
Yeah. And as long as you express that to the fullest, then they're going to be okay with that, with contacting you. It's not going to be as difficult if you truly just express that passion that you have for it.
That's right. And that's one thing I have been meditating on a lot. I do yoga. That's one thing that I found that really helps me. It's not just the physical part of it, but also meditation. And
I do it too sometimes.
Yeah, and one thing that I've meditated on a lot lately is life will go as far as you take it, and that's been one of my mantras lately. And if you're not here, you won't be able to see the positive changes that you can take life to as far as you want to.
Yeah.
You have to be prepared, definitely, in life and in business for whenever your time comes. And you have to take those steps to be prepared. Everything is timing in my perspective. But you just have to keep doing what you're doing and not, like we talked about before, it might be a bad time, might be a bad day, but it's not a bad life. You just have to make those changes. And it's
embrace the failures.
Embrace.
I don't even want to call it failures. Embrace the bad days. The learning experiences. Yeah, whatever.
Days, on the same page.
Exactly.
But I've really been trying hard to change my life or change me as a person, more positivity, put myself out there more, not just in business but in life, and it seems to be working. That's what I want everybody to know is just try to be positive and try not to, like we just said, try not to look as your failures as failures, just learning experiences.
Yeah. Or as like Les Brown, the motivational speaker, says, it's a character building day or something like that.
Yeah, Les Brown is great.
Yeah, he is. That's
what he says. It's hard to change your life.
Yeah, it is. It's very hard. And it was definitely hard for me. I mean, gosh, I remember I got to the point where my best friend would call me and be like, hey, let's hang out. And I'm like, no. I was just like going to work and home and stuff like that. And just, it never really worked out for me. There's nothing good about that.
And that's one thing I learned in working some of these retail jobs. It's the same thing every day. You might be working at a different, spot in the store or whatever you're doing or a different task for that day. But essentially, it's the same thing every day. And becoming an entrepreneur, I've learned that I have to wear so many hats, especially as a small startup. But design is my favorite part of what I do.
Right.
Designing clothes or new things to get screen printed or whatever. But I don't get to do that all the time. You can't spend $1 million on inventory every single day.
Right.
But so while I'm not designing things or being creative in that aspect, I've learned, well, hey, I like to do creative stuff. I have to think of ways to do things creatively and creative solutions to problems that I face. And I've been trying to apply that not only to my business, but my life.
And you mentioned meditation. I mean, I meditate too sometimes. I do hypnosis sometimes.
Yeah.
I think it's important to work on yourself every single day, even if it's for like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Journaling, yoga, meditation.
Yeah. Whatever it is. You have
quiet moment.
You have to grow as a person, not just in your career. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of Americans especially do not do is they think about the career. I want to grow this, I want to grow that, but they're not growing on themselves. And they have to grow themselves in order to grow their business or whatever it is that they want to do. And that's why I do hypnosis is a great way to work the subconscious.
I've never done that before.
And what it really does is, because you could say like, oh, I feel good, but on the inside you feel like shit. Yeah. And so it's the subconscious that you have to train. And hypnosis trains that. And I got to the point where my subconscious is completely positive, as the inner is the same as the outer. Same positivity.
Yeah. What you if you focus on, like you just said, focus on your personal life or personal growth, that'll show on the outside.
Exactly.
And it shines through.
And then when you say you really feel happy, then you are happy.
Yeah, you're telling the truth.
Yeah.
You don't have to put on a mask or feel that or bury any emotions.
Yeah.
Don't put on yourself.
Be yourself. Be true to who you are.
That's exactly right.
And be raw. Don't put on a mask.
Raw and real.
Fuck all that. All right, man. Why don't you tell everyone where they could find your company?
Yeah, you can find Mogul Clothing Company on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at Wear Mogul. That's WearMogul. Or you can find us to shop at wearmogulshop.com. And it's Mogul Clothing Company.
Cool. All right, man. Thanks, man.
Thank you, man, so much for having me. This is a great experience.
This is awesome. Glad you came out. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's a wrap.
Yeah, sorry I was late.
No, you're fine. You're completely
Are you gonna
fine.
like cut that part out when I stumbled?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll cut that part out. I'll make it look good.
What happened to the raw shit, man?
Raw and real.
There was no raw in there.
No, that was raw as hell. You're talking about something that's actually a very serious subject. You're supposed to take it back to that. But that to me personally, because it hits deeply to you. To
Yeah.
the point like to stumble over your words to that little scenario. I personally, in terms
Oh, that's what you're talking about. I didn't know what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
the editing.
Got it.
Yeah, I got
that's
you.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I was in terms of that point. Is that the point you were talking about?
No, yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
Because that's the point where it got, man. And I flashed this too, so I was like, man, did I just fuck him up?
No, you didn't find
No, I was trying. I had it, and then I was thinking of another quote, and it, and then he did that, and then I
Yeah.
just, So, but I got it out. I had
You
to
did.
think about it for a
You
minute.
did.
Because especially when you come back to the raw thing, like using the raw thing, once you set the raw thing in the end, you can come back and go back to that point. And it's like that's like this.
That's
is
real life.
Raw. Yeah, it's like this. That's what. Because most people don't know what raw is when you think about it. They gotta.
true.
Like,
You can post that as like an outtake. This is one story we didn't get into, but I was on The Price is Right.
Yeah.
And
We're on The Price is Right?
like I didn't like let's roll it.
You're still rolling, right?
I mean, we can talk about this story. I wasn't a contestant, but I was in the filming audience.
Okay, all right.
And so we went
I wanted to see you like run down and stuff.
Oh, I was so prepared. Like I had this whole thing, like this whole dance routine worked out. I was going to be like,
Yeah.
like twirling around, like you're going to be one of those people on the couch watching me, and they're going to be like, come on, you dumbass, get down there. And like, let's
Yeah.
get on with the show. But we got there at like 6 a.m, lined up, and it was on my birthday last year.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, hell yeah, I'm getting on here. It's my birthday. Like I got a custom shirt, like everything, like we're going to do it. And we stood in line for like 6 hours, and they take you you have to line up outside the studio. They take you into another holding room when they give you like your name tag. And so she's coming around where you have to fill out all this paperwork, and the girl's coming around that fills out their name tags, and the ones you see on TV. And she was like, what's your name? And I was like, Christopher. And she pulls out her pocket and hands me a label that already says Christopher on it. And I was like, oh, this is totally on. And so I was like, yeah, thank you. You already had that made out? I was like, you already saw me? And she was like, I already pre-write the long names. I was like, oh.
Damn
Okay.
it.
So then they take you to another holding room where the producers interview you. And in front of me and my friend, we were the 12th and 13th in line, respectively. And in front of us, there was a huge family. Like they all had the same shirts, everything, and they sang camp songs for 6 hours the whole time, like ones they wrote.
What?
Yeah.
Custom made?
Yeah, and like they only had like 5 of them, so they would cycle back through like every 20 minutes.
Oh my God.
And so he spent like 30 minutes interviewing like this whole family. And when he got to me and my friend, he was like, "Where are you from?" Cool. And moved on. I
he
was
was
like,
already sick of it.
You already, because they interview you like a group of like 20, 30 people at a time out of the group of 300 that go into the studio. So out of that 20 or 30 people, he had already picked out like his person from that big group, and then just like got down through the line.
Yeah.
Because there's only like 8 contestants, something like that. You
Yeah.
get picked for the whole show. So we go in there and we sit down and we wait, and like we were in the studio for like 3 hours because it was some special day where they had like a celebrity chef that was on there or something. So they had to do like multiple retakes and stuff.
Gotcha.
So that like slowed us way down. But we were like right behind Bitters Row, like a couple of rows up. So we were on TV like the whole time.
Nice.
But one of the girls that was singing the campfire song, she won like the showcase and like everything.
Damn.
Yeah, she won like a car and like a trip to Italy and something like that.
Treadmill.
Yeah, she like did it up, but it was a crazy experience. Like Drew Carey looks just like he does on TV in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Really?
scary,
When he lost all
right?
that weight?
Not used to that.
No, I'm not used to that type of that Drew.
That Drew, yeah.
Yeah. It was a cool experience.
That is cool.
Yeah.
A lot of people get to experience that.
Yeah, I wish I could have gone on there, but it was thankful that I didn't, because if you even make it up to Bitters Row, you can't be back on The Price is Right for 10 years. Yeah, that's like in the
Interesting.
contract that you sign and like everything. And you can't be on The Price is Right also if you've appeared on a game show more than twice in the past 10 years. So if you're like in the audience, then you can,
Yeah.
but not if you're like a contestant on something. So it's like a learning experience, like all that. So I'm kind of gracious that I didn't make it up there because they didn't play Plinko or like any of the big money games or
Yeah.
anything like that. So it was a crazy experience though.
That's cool,
It was,
man. That's awesome.
yeah, it's kind of neat.
Now that's raw.